this is, this is, you know, such a cheap and easy conference to be a part of, and I'm really grateful that everyone that you've decided to spend the next 40 minutes with me. And yeah, 2020 is such an interesting, strange place. I've hosted events and given talks and done infinite hours of client work all here at my desk. And yes, it's very, very strange. I'm super, super grateful to be back at DrupalCon. I've called it DrupalCon in my office 2020. I want to dive right in. I'm going to try and keep an eye on the time here. My plan is to show you about 40 slides in quick succession, in rapid fire order. And my lovely assistant, John, who's here in the room with us, he'll be watching your questions in the on-air platform. I can't see that right now to interact with it. I feel that if I blast through my presentation, I would love to have the chance to talk at the end and address your questions. And I am relatively easy to find online. And if anything comes up that we don't manage to interact about today, I'm super happy to talk anytime. So at Cologne on Twitter, jam@openstrategypartners.com. That's the email. I want to tell you very, very briefly about what I do with these lovely people here. And there's a mistake on my slide. My newest team member got shoved off the edge. Open Strategy Partners is a group of writers, communicators, technologists, and spread around the globe at this point, from Australia to Norway to Germany to the US. And we translate complexity to business value. That's the fundamental thing that we do. And if I wanted to say it in a lot more complex, in a very long way, here's a PDF that we send to people when they're curious about us. So that's tinyurl.com, OSP-intro-2020. Our motto is communicate, connect, grow. We want to help people communicate the value of what they do, to connect them with the people who need to know about it, and help those organizations grow, whatever growth means. Adopt your open source solution, buy your product, build a partner network, whatever it is. And our client base ranges from open source associations to projects to agencies. And we do this sort of work. This is not the point of the work, but these are some of the activities that we engage in along the way to get to this point of translating complexity to business value. We also try and make it a place that people would want to work. Along the way, we have a lot of values-based thinking. We consider very strongly the terms empathy, clarity, and trust when we work with each other, with our clients, and in the materials we produce. And I hope I'm going to be able to explain and give you some of the tools for one aspect of how we do that. And that thing is called a value map, and that's what you're here for. And this is something that we came up with at OSP to help deal with some specific issues. In fact, if I slip back just a couple slides for a second, I forgot to introduce you to. So I co-founded this company in 2017 with Tracy Evans, and Tracy Evans has an MBA, a lot of business education and experience, proper strategic tools, and so on. Whereas I have been in open source and in Drupal since 2005. I did what we would now call Drupal site building professionally. I was the 18th employee at Acquia and stayed there from 2008 until 2017. I co-created the DrupalCon pre-notes, which I would love to do again in person sometime if there are any pre-note fans. Oh, the good old days. So my experience came from going to a lot of conferences, having a lot of conversations with agency owners, with developers, with people in our communities. And Tracy brought this formal structural education to what we do. Now, the interesting thing that we hit when we were trying to do work for an early client is that as a business persona, someone like Tracy gets very, very frustrated very, very quickly with real buzzwords, jargon-based communications, and different vendors and competitors describing competing products in ways that are so different that it's almost impossible to compare them. And so as a business person, I have a really hard time if you use technical jargon with me. By the same token, as a developer, I get really frustrated if some sales team is calling me and making promises that their technical team can't live up to. And that's got to be a terrible experience for the technical team behind that salesperson anyway. I also don't like it as a developer if the person who's created the communications that should be targeted to me clearly doesn't know what they're talking about and is clearly making dumb mistakes. That's really, really hard in that case for me to build trust. And to a large degree, we shouldn't trust what we don't understand. Now, if I need to make a technology decision about something I don't understand, I think it's also fair for me to call on an expert. It's also fair for me to get someone I do trust to help me trust something new. But you know, the agency sales cycle, the technology choice cycle, whether to go open source or proprietary, all of these decisions in the end come down to trust. And to build trust, you need to be clear with me. I need to be clear with you. We need to be clear with our prospects. What is our product or service? What does it do? And what value does it deliver? And these are the fundamentals of how I think that we can build better communications. So as I said, what I want to do is help you think about how to build trust with your clients, with your prospects, with your stakeholders, whatever it is, with one of the tools that we use. This authentic communication framework that came out of my experience communicating, especially with the Drupal community, especially with developers, is and then also my early experience explaining the developer world to business people, you know, and explaining to the developers why the business people act in one way because it has this benefit. So being a bridge between those worlds, I understood that I have to have empathy. Not only do I need to understand your needs and what might make your day better, but I need to communicate with you in a way that you're going to understand and that will resonate with you. So practical empathy, I need to interview people, talk with them, understand what their needs actually are, not be shy about asking questions, and then communicate in a way that you understand. So choose language, choose terms, you know, choose business terms for business people and technical terms for technical people, for example. I need to be clear about what I'm communicating. I need to be clear about what my product doesn't do. I need to be clear about where we are in developing it. I need to not sell vaporware. That's a technical clarity. So I'm not, you know, selling hot air. And on practical level, I need to practice good communication that's clear and well structured and logically rigorous and so on. And doing that, hopefully, I can build trust with you. We put this into a strategic framework. The vast majority of this is all standard, normal marketing stuff that's very well documented and well understood in the world. And so target audiences, personas, the buyer's journey, and so on. These are standard marketing tools. Strategic narratives are as a result of who you need to communicate with and what they need to know. You can build evergreen sort of story pools to pull things out of. And then you tell stories about them over and over again, investigate them, dive into them, whatever's relevant to what you do. The last two are clearly about planning communications. But over here on the top left and the middle top, the value map and the trust and vibrancy signals, those are two things that we've developed at OSP to help ourselves. So the value map, I'm going to get into it now, but what is your product? What does it do? What value does it deliver? Then you figure out who you need to communicate with. Trust and vibrancy signal audit is your project or your product or your team. What do they look like when perceived from the outside, and how much can you influence that? And then that would actually morph into an SEO discussion, which is interesting as well. But Then, you know, how people find you, what stories you're going to tell them, and then all of this goes towards building strategically relevant communication. So that is then communication that achieves the goal, right? That builds your partner program, that gets people to try your open source solution, whatever your goals are. Right. The result of the value mapping process is a living set of documentation with an inventory of every feature in your product or service and the benefits that those features delivered, and expressed as a thing that we call a value statement. This collection of value statements helps groups understand and come to a common consensus about what it is, what it does, and what value it delivers. And I don't know how many I would ask you in a normal situation to raise your hands, but I've been in a lot of situations and a lot of rooms at a lot of organizations where I ask 3 executives what their product is and who it's for, and I'll get 4 different answers. And I'll ask the technical teams and I'll get another set of answers. And it makes it really, really difficult to design and build and fund and sell something if different teams have completely different ideas about it, and not to mention, you know, people within the same team having different ideas. So if you build consensus and then you have an agreed upon single truth and an agreed upon way to express it, that can build a lot of consensus and help everyone pull in the same direction, and then help build communications based on the agreed upon, bought into single source of truth, so that a salesperson and a lead developer and a CEO can go and give relevant presentations or write relevant blog posts for their target audiences based on the same based on the same reality. So when we look at something like a CMS, like a design system, like an agency service offering, we try to find as many features as possible that are relevant to what we're doing. And that's the atomic unit of functionality in a technical system, or like the atomic unit of business value in something like a partner program. So, you know, at a technical level, that might be WYSIWYG editing, or double redundant backups, or multi-region failover, or whatever it is for your technical thing. And in the business sense, in a partner program, it would be, we help you write 3 case studies a year, or you can place a blog post once a quarter, or something. And then, so we have once we've determined this catalog of features, we assume that every feature is there because it delivers value. So the value that it delivers usually goes through a process. We call it an activity, usually internally, but a feature delivered through an activity delivers a benefit. And then what we can also see is that clusters of features come together to form a larger business relevant functionality that produce a benefit. And we express these as value statements when we're working on this value map concept. And these value statements are then this agreed upon single source of truth for our stakeholders. This comes from a world in which, if you looked at Drupal or Typo3 or geeky open source developer-led projects a few years ago, you would see that I can figure out that a CMS, an open source CMS, has supports WYSIWYG editing, supports bidirectional language display, supports spell checking, has some concept of drag and drop editing of some kind, and so on. And there's all these features in there. And our assumption as geeks is that you're going to be smart enough to understand that you can combine all these things and make a nice authoring experience. And Adobe comes and says, we offer business-friendly authoring. And it's a beautiful statement, and it has the word business in it, and they sell very large projects for very large amounts of money. I believe we need to help people come to this conclusion and not just give them the raw data, but we need to present things. And these value statements are part of the way to get there. So from an example from some of our client work with the Sulu CMS, I'm getting distracted by the little display on my screen. That's better. So from the Sulu CMS, this is a full stack Symfony developer-oriented CMS. Everything is written in Symfony packages and put together on top of Symfony itself. And it's really cool. It's a really, really interesting take on what a CMS is and what it can be. It is not the kind of user experience that Drupal is designed for, which Drupal's kind of the great equalizer and puts the power of the code in the UI. Sulu is for developers to develop great user experiences, but the users don't configure anything and don't build anything. So so here's an example of a feature in our paradigm is that it's built on a Symfony full stack, and that is the activity that delivers it is its system architecture, and the benefit is that it's a great developer experience because lots of people know and like and use Symfony. And then a sort of a proto statement is, hey, Sulu offers great developer experience because it's based on full stack Symfony, right? And then building communication from there, you could say that maybe you should adopt this because it's very standard PHP and it'll be easier to hire developers, and maybe you'll attract developers who already know Symfony and need a custom CMS on top of their custom application kind of thing. Sulu also has a super cool feature that it has predefined UI elements and a really wonderful backend user experience, and you can just invoke that by using their code standards, and it comes together. And so it's really easy for a developer to build great user experiences because this process is automated. So then we go from a feature through the activity of automating the creation of the UI. We get a great user experience as a benefit, and then we have this value statement. Another example is what I just talked about this before. Business-friendly authoring and editing is made up of all these atomic level features, UTF-8 support, WYSIWYG, spell checking, and so on. But that comes together to have this, business-friendly authoring, internationalization-friendly, whatever it is. And this is also an example from a real project. Once we have all of those value statements, then we can sort of move up the pyramid and mash all of those together to position the platform. And my experience in positioning exercises at many organizations is people come with a hypothesis and they say, I think we're this, and then you sort of fight downwards into your products and services and see if that really fits once you've argued it out. And somebody else says, well, I think it's this, and you fight through that one, and eventually you sort of top down come to a positioning by starting with the features and the activities that they contribute to and the benefits that those empirically deliver. You have a set of value statements that are real and true and based on technical fact. And if you look at a series of those, what are the benefits that it's delivering for whom? Then you have an exercise in sorting and compressing all of that factual information into the positioning statement for your product or service. So it's a bottom-up fact-based process, which is a lot of work to get there, but you come up with something that is generally real and true. And that clearly helps, this sales team that I was talking about, not sell vaporware and not sell fiction. If you have a multi-product offering at your organization, or you're an agency and you offer different kinds of web projects as products, on the right here, we have an idea that the fact that you might be offering a platform. DDev, for example, offers a local development environment. They offer staging and preview services, and they offer live hosting. So there is some synergy and some benefits from them being a platform. So on the right, we would come up with a platform the things that the unique values that that platform delivers, in this case, development to deployment, all in one thing. And then we also have a brand level positioning statement, and that is simply the same exercise again: boil up, compress, compact, leave with the most salient facts and the most important points, and then you can come up with a claim, you can come up with differentiators that are all based on the value that you can actually deliver to clients. We did this with DDEV, and here's an example of the second or third to last step where based on facts and features and boiling up and boiling up and boiling up and boiling up, then and a template, we can come up with, different word count versions of your brand in this category helps, gives, does, your target audience, right? And so there's a clue that you can write different ones for different target audiences who need something or who have this problem. You can help them get this benefit, this value from your stuff by, and here's a technical detail about what it is. And you can see the original value statement format hidden in there. So this is how we come up, starting at the bottom of a very broad pyramid, boil up, boil up, boil up, boil up, to say something like DDEV, dev to deploy platform, helps you deliver your web projects faster, better, simpler, anywhere you need them. And then if anybody needs to pick that apart, any of those things is based on, anywhere you need them means it'll run on any operating system, it'll run on any cloud, you can install it where you need it, and so on, but it's based on technical reality. So we put the value map together. If we're coming in with a new client and or a new technology, we spend time, and you should spend time if you want to do this, because I'm trying to give you the tools here. Research the industry that it finds itself in. If it's related to anything that at all that's going on today, there will be competitors or potential competitors or people who've done the previous stage and you're offering the next generation or whatever it is. You find out what's on offer at what sort of price and how they're describing themselves. And at this point, in between 1 and 2, you start to find SEO keywords, how people are finding these things, how the competitors are describing themselves, so that you have a context that you can build into. If you're number 2 or number 3 in a market, you could, or you're an open source CMS like Drupal, and you decide that you want people who are searching for Adobe Web Experience Manager to also find Drupal results, you should go and look at how Adobe describes what they do, business-friendly authoring or what have you. You can decide at some point to model your marketing language on theirs, so that people will be finding you with similar words. If you want to define a category, then you've got a different set of tasks, but you can teach people what they need to search for. You can train your audience and make a niche for yourself, right? There's a lot of options as soon as you know what the rest of your market around you is doing. So you have a lot of power and a lot of choices at that point. We then take the time to talk with mixed disciplinary, so groups of people with different skill sets from the organizations that we work with. So for us, it has proven to be incredibly valuable to sit down a designer and a senior developer and, I don't know, a front ender and a back ender and a manager and a CEO or something in these groups to talk about the product. So we often interview people and then get them in a workshop to fill in features and activities and benefits. Then we do some modeling, we draft it, we present it in a couple of different formats, improve it, and then have this catalog of these statements somewhere between the value statements, the feature positioning, the product positioning, the brand level positioning, and so on. And all of these levels give more and less compact, usable statements to then go build communications around all the value that your thing actually delivers. So, and it's important to keep this up to date if and when your product gets new features and so on. In the workshop, we really love to work with an interactive whiteboard tool online called Miro. Even Yeah, online workshops present their own special challenges, and it's been a real learning experience this year. This is something that we were already using, and we've turned to a lot more. Imagine you have a series of one more thing that we do that I should say is that we come in, having done that research, we come in with initial guesses about, we think because of the conversations we've had with you and because of how your competition's talking, we think that you probably should make a claim to offering benefits X, Y, and Z. And it's pretty clear to us that there's a couple of activities and things that would deliver those. And we'll come in and we'll precede a whiteboard that looks like this, maybe with fewer of the pink and green things. And we'll have a bunch of business benefits there. We'll talk people through it, and then we'll workshop different smaller groups through different copies of this thing. So each center point is a business benefit, whether that be, peace of mind because your infrastructure is never going to go down, business-friendly authoring, more business thanks to the partner program, deploy faster. Benefits are anything that makes your organization work better in some way. We talked through benefits. The green things are activities that deliver them, and then the pink things are features that go into a given activity. This obviously doesn't describe a flow. It's just it's been a nice way to this format is often called an empathy map. So all of these things point towards a benefit, and you can see that different collections of features in different activities can still deliver into a given benefit. And this sounds obsessive and weird when I read it out loud, but every feature delivers one or more benefits through an activity. And every benefit is made up of one or more features and delivered by one or more activities, and every activity delivers benefits through collections of features. But this becomes kind of super duper important here. I don't know if you've been watching me in the camera, but the feature level description of a product or service is a lot of data points. For CMS, it's about, we've mapped 700 features in certain cases. And this is the information world that we live in as developers, all of these different specific, small technical pieces. And then when you get to the activities and the features, that's a much more compact set of things, and the benefits even more so. And if you are a developer trying to convince someone upstairs, or a client or someone to try a new technology, to try Drupal, to use a new chat protocol, it doesn't matter. You're living in this world of all these features, and you'd generally have a really, really hard time convincing a business person to adopt that, to pay the bills so that you can use this new cool thing, unless you have a link to the business value that delivers. So this sort of thinking can give you a path as a technical person to influence and have proper conversations and inspire the people who might be funding your budget, becoming your client, and so on. So you can look at your technical functionality and be connected to the business value that it delivers and have conversations in that direction. And by the same token, from the top down, if you have a salesperson, that salesperson can talk about business benefits and then dig as deep and go as far as they need to convince you or someone else to try or buy something. So, and not only sales teams, for example, you might get really super excited about system something, the newest, greatest, whatever it is, as a developer, and you tell you tell someone right at the top, and the CEO sees this thing and says, "Oh, that's amazing," and they read a one-pager based on 3 business benefits and the areas of activity that deliver it, and they're like, "That looks fantastic. Now you, CTO, go and prove, I need to know if this is real, because if it's real, we're buying it." The CTO can dig right down through the information and find out that it's all based on facts again. So this using these things for 2 different directions of communication turns out to be pretty cool and pretty important. So having all of this information lets us do communications and marketing strategy and plan campaigns and obviously create content, helps create and make decisions about building your website and where to put what sort of information, and can also help you build competitive matrices with your competition, decide on and prioritize your roadmap based on, for example, are you trying for feature parity with something? Are you trying to get past something else? You know, whatever problem you're trying to solve, you have the facts about what you've got there. So that can help plan and set priorities across every aspect of the business. This is a screenshot from platformsh from not that long ago. And platformsh is not a client, but I am very good friends with several people there, and and Robert Douglas and I have talked about value mapping a lot. And if you look at Robert's team's page of developer resources here, you can see very, very clearly that it is organized hierarchically. They have information about features. They have information about workflows, which is what we call activities at OSP. So features are things it does, workflows are things that deliver features, and benefits are the quote unquote business stories about how features and workflows deliver benefits. And this is a lovely bit of example of not only of how this thinking works in the real world, but how to apply it to information architecture. What level of demo, what level of information am I looking for? It's clearly labeled, and I love that this sort of thing is out in the world. B13 is an agency client of OSP. They are a leading Typo 3 CMS agency. Typo 3 is, if anybody doesn't know, it's PHP, open source, GPL, Symfony component based. I mean, very, very technically similar to Drupal. And it does a lot of great things, and it has it's kind of cool to see yet another solution to the CMS problem that really helps people in the world. And it's all open source, and Drupal and Typo 3 have traded patches and attended each other's conferences, and I like being in multiple communities as well. So anyway, B13 is a Typo 3 agency, and the information architecture of their whole website is based on value mapping. Their solutions, we consider those as products, performant websites, and we figured out on a CEO level, make Typo 3 faster was a good SEO solution for search engine results. Medium publishing, scalable international solutions. We treated these kinds of web projects as products. Each of these products then has a landing page. And right, so when we hit the solutions page, here's a description of what was in the menu before. So you'll notice here, websites that delivered what your customers need fast on any network and any device are key to your success. That's a benefit from our benefit statements, from our value statements. That's a business benefit. And performant websites rank higher, keep visitors' attention longer, and produce better conversion rates. That's another benefit. So we've made a landing page of what you get by choosing this thing. Then when you get down to the performant website's actual page, you can see I'm going to choose something. Let's talk about, I don't know, CDNs or caching or whatever. All of these lists are the actual specific features from our value mapping of their quote unquote product offering. So, Typo 3 caches all CSS code as static files. That is a feature. And then meaning style information can be delivered instantly. That's a benefit. So there's a pure value statement from the value map. And then these 3 value statements go up to this speed up page delivery is a benefit. And we configure with CDNs, that is a solution how we deliver that. So every product has this level of detail in it, and all of it's fact-based, and you can look at any level of that information. And then on their website, the menu point next to it is tools, and the tools are the things that feed into their solutions. So and the tools are described in a very similar way to their products. AMP format helps performance. So they show that they understand AMP so that you could believe that they could offer faster things. They have a lot of typo 3 pages, so they have credibility in that world, and so on. So each of the aspects is built on value mapping what they do and then supporting each other. One more bit of tricky language here, also derived from this work. This first paragraph here is performance-driven websites are critical to your success. So that's saying if you have one, you'll do better. Sites that deliver what people want faster, produce better conversion rates, and so on. This is a benefit statement, right? And then if you move down here below the intro, this second paragraph is all challenges. So we know from the real world, because we all do web projects, delivering too much data, people with slower connections, search engine penalties. These are challenges that our clients face on a daily basis. And then the last paragraph is how we as an agency, how we solve this. So this is another kind of statement that we build a lot, which is called a benefit challenge solution. And this whole website is focused around these value statements, around these benefit challenge solutions, and so on. So we collect as many facts as we can, and we organize them, and we categorize them, and we figure out why they're there and what value that they deliver. And then we organize all of these bits into information that anyone on the team can give, deliver, repurpose, put in presentations, put in communications, and so on. And you can do it too. It's pretty straightforward. And, I'd love to talk with you about this. I think I left us 7-8 minutes to talk now. I don't know how to get to the Talkie platform, but I'll, yes, maybe there are questions. I hope there are questions.
So we have a couple of questions.
Hooray! What can you see right now? Is it still my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I can. One question is from Katerina. Could the OSP strategic framework be applied to other types of organizations, like governmental ones, since these are not business orientated?
What sorts of organizations?
The example was governmental.
Oh, absolutely yes. Because this is not, when I say delivering value, I'm not talking, this doesn't have to be selling a thing, the value can be what your department does for your constituents, and that, and then your target audience would clearly be, depending on your level of organization, you might have a target audience in the software world. We talk about, we really talk about, developers and business people a lot, technical roles and non-technical roles. But I think, thinking about this on the fly, the target audience, if I have a government department, I'm going to need to build communications to the people who control my funding and budgets to tell them, we're doing this and we're delivering that value, and therefore you should keep supporting us. We've benefited the community in these ways with these services. That's very value mappable. And then I think then the external communication is a different version of those same facts. We're here to help you. We've helped this many people in the last year, and if you're a donation based, if you're an NGO, of course, you can target it to like, we've done all this good. Now, if you've got it, please help us. And I think that it would be fun to show you very, very quickly on this topic what this trust and vibrancy signal thing looks like, because I think it's relevant. Let's see if it's here. Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So this slide here, this comes from the experience of needing to choose a Drupal module. No, can you see this? I hope you can see it.
No, it's just Google.
Okay, what about now?
Yes.
Okay, so most people here will have had the experience of building a website and needing to choose a module. And if there are 2 or 5 or 10 modules that solve a given problem, you know, and especially in the Drupal 6 and 7 world, there were a lot of modules. How do you choose one? And this experience started with the like, well, who's the maintainer? I know her. Okay, that helps me trust her. How often are people putting questions in, and how fast is she answering them? And when was the last release? And how many sites is this installed on? And giving me a kind of a mental scoring about which.
Sorry to interrupt. We're still seeing the Google screen.
Okay. I will try to fix that as we go. So, you know, you have an interesting issue around trying to figure out which module to use. And then we think in the context of an open source project, can you see that now, John?
Trust and vibrancy signals.
Yes. So if you're an open source project and you don't have a clear code of conduct, that's clearly a red flag. Like that's clearly a minus. Yeah. If you know how to write and you produce consistently good release notes, that's a plus that'll help me trust your project. Is there a README file? Do you have people in the community who've given you testimonials? It's not completely in your control, but it helps, right? Have you given good documentation? Do you have community guidelines? Do you have contribution guidelines? Do you have good, you know, are you releasing regularly and so on? These sorts of things, we call them trust and vibrancy signals, and we can also modify them and apply them to other situations. And I think, Katerina, that it's a really interesting use case to turn this around and use this in a governmental or an NGO framework. I think that that's a place where trust plays a big role. So yes, I think that what we're talking about, I think this strategic framework would be very applicable. Ha.
Okay, last question that's there at the moment is, can you, oh, another one's turned up. But the question is, can you make your slides available?
Yes, that's an easy yes. And I will say that here, if you can see that, @HornCologne is me on Twitter, jam@openstrategypartners.com. I'm sorry, it's a lot to type. Please be in touch. I'd love to, love to do that. And I guess the other bit is this tiny URL OSP intro. That's up there as well.
And we've got one last point from Anja, who appears to be one of your clients.
Uh-oh.
Who's excited about the upcoming workshop.
Well, terrific.
Is this the thing that they'd go through in the workshop?
Oh, not for you. No. This all, you know, the value map and the strategic framework, or the left side of that is very much the onboarding process that we need to do to be able to make trustworthy, clear, honest, accurate, compelling communication, right? We are very, very concerned with being fact-based. We're also very concerned with a few other things like we only write positive text. We don't use violence or war metaphors, you know, but to get down to this job here and to help you sell more or find more partners or more adoption, it's really, really essential that we practice good communication. And this is how we get there.
Okay, I think that's it.
Woohoo!
More questions?
My shortest DrupalCon ever. I really hope to be able to see community people in person again in 2021. And I'm really grateful to be here. So thank you very, very much, everyone who made this possible. And thank you, everyone, for your contributions. And please be in touch. It's such a great time to chat with people. Yeah, thank you so much, everyone.